Well, some of the unsung heroes during the coronavirus pandemic have been delivery drivers who are helping to keep Americans fed while helping local businesses stay afloat. But these so-called gig workers are classified as independent contractors, not employees. So they don't get the same benefits as other employees. Typically, they're also not eligible for unemployment benefits, which is bad news for Uber and Lyft drivers who've seen their wages plummet with lockdown orders keeping people at home. But Congress did expand unemployment benefits to them under the CARES Act. For more on this, I do want to bring in Research Director for the Capital Research Center, Mike Watson. Hi, Mike. Thanks so much for joining us today.
Thanks for having me, Greta.
How does the CARES Act expand unemployment benefits for so-called gig workers to help them as they're struggling amid this pandemic?
Well, the expansions in unemployment are part of a broader effort, especially by progressive legislators, to make ultimately get rid of independent contracting as a classification. The core issue is that independent contractors are not eligible to be unionized under the National Labor Relations Act, and this for progressive legislators who received support from labor unions. They have been trying to increase the power of labor unions over these workers, even at this time when the public is more reliant on them than at any point before.
Democrats have focused on these workers in the past, calling for them to be classified as employees instead of as independent contractors, some even pushing to unionize these workers. Although those calls are shielded as an effort to protect them, how could that actually hurt them?
The potential greatest harm would be if it impacts the business model of the services enough that they aren't able to operate. And if you look at some of the things going on, I say with California did this first with AB 5 legislation that sort of got rid of independent contracting in these areas. And the target was to put Uber and Lyft out of business in the state. Obviously, if they go out of business, there are no jobs for the contract workers to have. And then when you add in things like union dues, forced agency fees, the regulations around employment, that can hurt workers as well.
Should gig workers be concerned that the protections being offered to them during the coronavirus pandemic will open the door for Democrats to hurt their business in the future?
Should always be aware and always be alert. There is legislation that has cleared the House of Representatives called the PRO Act, which would expand all sorts of union privileges, repeal right-to-work laws, end the prohibition on secondary boycotts, allowing unions to more substantially disrupt the economy. That would expand the AB 5 rules nationwide. So it's not so much any special actions that are taken as a result of the coronavirus pandemic, so much as something that gig workers should be aware of in general, because it is part of the labor union agenda.
When talking about protecting these workers, what kind of changes would actually be appropriate to help gig workers in the U.S. economy?
You could see things, kind of the things that have gone on with the unemployment for the extent of the crisis period, anything to deregulate health insurance and allow people to take it between jobs, removing regulations in cities and states that have prohibited Uber and Lyft from operating, clearing the path for people who are willing and able to work to be able to work.
All right, Mike Watson, the research director at the Capital Research Center, joining us to talk about the coronavirus impact on gig workers in the U.S. Thanks so much for coming on the show today, Mike.
Thank you for having me, Greta.
Want to see more videos like this? Click on the link below and subscribe to One America News on YouTube. And call your cable provider and kindly demand that One America News is added to your lineup. Call and subscribe today.